Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Rohini here. Thank you for tuning into this video. I'm very excited to share all about my pregnancy experience and answer a bunch of your pregnancy questions. They've been so good. They're such great questions and I really am looking forward to answering them. Make sure to subscribe and give this video a like if you haven't already, and let's get into it. So as I'm filming this, I am 29 weeks pregnant, which is wild. I'm in the 3rd trimester and time is ticking. Baby's coming pretty soon. Let me show you, see if I can show you my bump. It's definitely getting pretty large, pretty round. So a bit of introduction into this video if you haven't seen any of my videos before or you just haven't heard about my pregnancy. I am living in rural Tennessee, out in the country. My husband and I are building a barn house, and we're gonna start farming and doing all these things to kind of like live off grid and support ourselves and create a really beautiful regenerative life that honors the earth. That's our goal. I am going to a midwife center, a midwifery clinic at the farm, which if you've ever read any of Ina May Gaskin's books, you'll recognize the farm. It's a dream come true to be working with them, and I have utmost respect for my midwife, Karina. She is exactly the kind of midwife I wanted to work with, so I'm very grateful. I'm planning a home birth, which is where I will feel most empowered. I don't really feel empowered within the Western medical system. I'm much more on the herbalism, natural healing, alternative healing, naturopath, that kind of world. That's where I feel good and comfortable and empowered. So I've always known I wanted a home birth, always since I was in like high school and watching birth vlogs all the time for fun. I've been doing research about birth and best birth practices and empowering birth practices for years and years and years. And so when I found out I was pregnant, it wasn't even a question of what I was going to do. I wanted to have a home birth, and I hoped that I would be able to find midwives that could support me in that. And that's what I did. So my midwives will come to the house, and we will have our baby at home. I guess for more context, I'm 25, turning 26 in January. My husband's 27. This is our first child, and this is my first pregnancy. I got pregnant on the first try, which was really incredible, a little unexpected. I kind of knew, but Sage definitely was surprised. My husband was surprised that it was that fast for us. We're so grateful for that. Something I just want to share before going into the questions is what's really important to me within birth and women's work, which is something I'm very passionate about and will continue to study and share, because I really think it's the most important, one of the most important things ever is birth. It's how it all starts. Is that I'm really of the mind that birth is a natural process and it's not something that needs to be feared or medicalized or seen as an emergency, which if you've watched, any like Grey's Anatomy or any of those TV shows, birth is like this crazy emergency and everyone's screaming and freaking out and it's so painful and it's like rushing and just this really frantic energy. And if you've ever seen a home birth vlog, that's not the case. Typically the women are really in their bodies, like deep within themselves, and they're supported and they feel safe and they're comfortable, and the baby takes the time that the baby needs to take, but there's often much less need for intervention. I'm an advocate for returning to a natural mind with birth, because going to a doctor for birth care is very new on the scene. Everyone had a midwife that would come to their house. This is a new practice, going to the doctor. Home births are not trendy. It's actually hospital births that are trendy if you look at the span of history. So we know how to birth, women know how to birth, and oftentimes if left to their own devices, women will birth a very healthy, beautiful baby, as well as they will be healthy too. So just encourage you to do, dive into it. Watch The Business of Birth if you're interested. Watch a bunch of home birth vlogs. You can watch Orgasmic Birth, that's another documentary. Reading books, there's so many different resources where you can learn about the power and the magic in birth. Seems like the most important thing for birth is that I trust myself, that I trust my body and I trust this process. I trust the baby. I trust the support around me and the space, and knowing that all of it, because of education, knowing that all of it is normal, and not to be in fear, and to trust my instinct. If my midwife says, oh, I think we should do this, but I feel no, I don't want to do that, then having midwives and choosing midwives that will honor my wishes. Of course, if there's an emergency where I'm out of my depth, then I would hope that the midwife would step in. But that's what I love about my midwife, Karina. She's very empowering. It's not even a question of like what her opinion is. It's how do I feel? What's my knowing? And she will support that. So I love it. And that's not always the case. So just being really, 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 if you're going the midwife route, being really, really selective of who your midwife is, because that will can shift your whole birth journey. So let's get into the questions. Jacqueline, I believe her name is, asked, are you choosing free birth with supporters, or are you wanting your midwife to deliver? I love that this was even asked. It means that my audience and I are really vibing, because for my next births, I want to have a lot of kids. I really want to do a free birth, which means that it's just me and Sage and maybe like a friend, but no professionals are there to support. I say professionals because, there's lots of different qualifications of what would be a professional, but I love the idea of free birth, and I really, really want to do that in the future. And there's a course that I'm going to do before then. So anyway, I chose the midwife route this time because it's my first time being pregnant, and it's actually, I think, more of the pregnancy that I was wanting support on than the birth, because I have done so much research about birth, but pregnancy actually I hadn't. And just with all of the changes that come within the body, and also like having my mom pass away and just feeling like I needed support for this pregnancy, that's really why I wanted midwives, and just having the regular care and the regular checkup, and having someone ask you how you're doing, and like someone to text in the middle of the night if you're like, why is this normal? Just having someone to kind of be there and affirm you that you're okay. And again, this is all about the empowerment. So I feel like after having this experience and going through a healthy pregnancy, I will know next time, like, okay, this is all normal. But I'm definitely someone that, like, the first time I do something, I'm freaking out a little bit. And then once I'm doing it, it's all good. And then after that, I'm like super confident. But, it's like preparing to start a new class or like try a new hobby. The first time, I'm always like, yeah. So I found it really helpful to have that support during the pregnancy. And I've said this a bunch of times, but if the baby comes before my midwives can get here, I would be super happy. Like that's kind of my dream birth, is just Sage and I in the bathtub and the baby arrived in our arms, just very, quiet and small group. That would be heaven. So yeah, I feel good about that. But in terms of what I envision, I want my midwives to be pretty hands-off, like, and they're very, they're very good at this. They'll do whatever you want to feel, empowered and safe. So just kind of hanging out, like they're there, they're not really in the mix. They're not like, I don't want to be checked. I want my cervix to be checked, see how dilated I am. I'm going to call them like much towards the end. I want to labor alone for, the majority of it. I'll have Sage call them. And I want to really be in my own zone. And then at the end, like when I'm really, pushing and giving birth, just them to be there, kind of watching, but I don't want them to catch the baby or anything like that, or even be like, I want Sage and I to be there with the baby, and we bring the baby up and have those first moments and just like very hands off, which my midwives are down for that, and they definitely respect that, which is great. So I've seen lots of videos of midwives just like kind of intruding into the process and making the mama nervous, which is not, you know, not what I want. And so yeah, it's like a free birth, but with them there in case I need them. But again, I would be okay if they weren't there. But then Sage was like, well, why are we even paying for them if you don't even need them to be there? I was like, yeah, that's a good point. We're also going to have Sage's mom there, who's had, you know, 2 natural births and 1 home birth. And I feel good about that as well, and all of the education that I've done and all the research. Someone asked, how did you go about finding a midwife and what are the financial aspects to it? Which is such a great question. I had no idea about how much it would cost before. So I looked around a lot, and we're out in the country, so there really isn't too many options, but luckily the farm is not very far from us, and they were kind of like my dream situation anyway. And I emailed pretty much all the midwives that are still on their roster and asked if any of them were available. And my current midwife wasn't available originally. She thought she was gonna be out of the country, and I kind of like begged and begged, and then I met a doula who was connected to my midwife, and she also was like, hey, would you be able to support like this woman for her birth in December? And then I guess her plans changed, and now she has a bunch of births in December, so she was able to be my midwife, which is such a relief. But it's hard. It's pretty hard to find someone depending on where you are. One of the women in my prenatal group, she emailed 30 midwives before she could find Karina, our midwife. So yeah, I guess just starting as soon as you find out you're pregnant, honestly, is a great way, because it might take a while to find someone that resonates with you. And the financial aspect, my midwifery care is $6,000, and that includes all of the monthly checkups and the tests that you can or cannot do. You can opt out of them, and the birth as well. And she also has an assistant midwife, so that covers the 2 midwives and then all the care and the postpartum care as well. So that's pretty standard. I've heard around the same price from other friends who've had midwives, sometimes more depending on the area, depending on all these different factors, but 6,000 is about the average. And you can break it up into payments. Well, they offer to break it up into payments, or you can pay all at once, depending on, you know, whatever works for your situation. This is a great question. Personal question, but do you still keep intimate during pregnancy, and what month is the limit? Great question. This has really been on my mind lately as I'm getting bigger. And I'm just not so nimble, and I'm like, Sage calls it the roly-poly. Like, I have to like, because you can't really use your core, and you can't sit straight up, so you need to roll to your side and then like push off, and I'll just do all these funny little positions to try and get around. And so that's been changing our sex life, because I just cannot be in that many positions comfortably, which is normal. But I would say the intimacy definitely has shifted. Like, my appetite for sex and what I want within sex has really shifted. Like, I only want very soft and intimate and sensual and romantic and like love making. I don't want anything rough, which is not normal for me, but I want to be very, very sweet and tender and loving. And definitely the frequency has gone down because of life. Like, we both are so exhausted and pass out by 9 p.m. Him from building a house, me from building a baby. So it's definitely shifted, but I think it's so beautiful to come together in those moments and just think like, this union, this love is what made this baby. Like, this is so special, and I always get so emotional, and it's just, it's so beautiful. So, in terms of like what month is the limit, there is no limit. You can have sex all the way up until your water breaks. You can still be in labor and your water hasn't broken. So having sex to get labor going is actually a method that is used because semen softens the cervix and kind of helps open that up. So you can have sex all the way through if you feel comfortable with it, as long as you're, you know, like feeling okay. There's definitely some positions that aren't comfortable, I've noticed anymore, but planning to have sex, you know, maybe to get labor started. That's happened for a few of my friends, kick it off. And that just sounds like a great way to bring a baby into this world, no? Like in so much pleasure and love and connection. Emma asked, how did you handle going against the normal pregnancy path? Very much admire you. Thank you. There's very few things that I feel so strongly about, like it's literally a fire in my soul that I just feel like so passionate about. And birth is one of those topics, and it always has been for me. It always has been, and it's not like it's run in my family necessarily. My mom had a heart condition, so she had to have an extremely medicalized labor. She had like a team of 15 doctors with her and had to be induced and scheduled and all this stuff. So that wasn't her story, or her mom's or anything, you know. It's not necessarily in my lineage, but I think at the same time that's why I want to do this, because I want to bring healing to this lineage of birth trauma and stress, and how a baby comes into this world is so important, I think. And I just feel so strong that if I have the opportunity to bring a baby into this world in the most gentle, loving, normal way possible, then I want to do that, and I'll do everything that I can. And I think that's the kind of like stepping into the mother archetype, like I talked about in my other video, is just like shutting out any opinions or criticism that you may get, and knowing that you're doing what you feel is best for baby and for you. And it's really, it seems kind of out there compared to maybe modern society, but there are so many women and cultures and communities that are much more into home births and free births. Like around here, it's pretty common. Like our electrician was talking about how all 6 of their kids his wife had at home, and it's just more common in these rural cultures because you're living out in the country, and you have, like, for instance, our neighbor is a doula, and she's helped, she's assisted like 15-20 different women just around the community with their labors, because that's just kind of what you do. And I love that. Like, that's one of my mantras for birth, is this is what you do. Like, this is how it's done. Women have been doing it. They go in a cave, they give birth. This is how it's done. So just kind of reminding myself that's the norm. You know, it's like that's the norm until proven otherwise, instead of hospital, medicalized, scary interventions. Mom has birth trauma, baby has birth trauma. That's the norm, and the home birth freaks are the not norm, you know? That's actually not true if you look at history. So just, yeah, empowering yourself with information, that's the best way to do it, because that's how, at least for me, most of us will feel safe, is when we have information and research and have seen these examples. And that's also why I want to do it, because I want to be that example for other women, because it's so needed and it's so important. Oh, so many good questions. It's going to be a long video. Rachel asked Doppler and ultrasound usage and risk considerations. So I'm not up on all of the science on this. It's just not something my brain really like grabs hold of. Scientific information. I can't spit facts even if I've read them a bunch of times. But I've opted out of doing ultrasounds. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. It's one of those things my intuition was like, nah, you don't need that. And as knowing that I'm healthy, I think going into pregnancy, I was in a very healthy state, like one of the healthiest I've ever been after having some health struggles in the past. And so knowing that my baseline was very healthy, and I've never had any like uterine, problems or anything like that. and just trusting, like trusting spirit, trusting baby, trusting myself, trusting that this process will all be, you know, filled with grace, and it will all work. But I have read, and I can't quote this exactly, so, you know, take it as you will. Please feel free to leave anything that does not resonate with you at all. Please just, yeah. I have heard that ultrasounds, especially frequent ultrasounds, can be a little bit traumatic for the baby in utero because it sounds extremely loud. It kind of sounds like a helicopter by their head. And so if you're getting ultrasounds very frequently, that's just a lot of noise for baby. That's what I've heard. And also, like, you know, there's women who get ultrasounds all the time and baby seems to be fine. So it's just whatever resonates with you. And we're not finding out the gender, and if there was a defect with baby, it wouldn't change my mind about anything. So I just felt really comfortable not having that information, and just trusting and going off of what I feel. And I told my midwives if there was a cause for concern and if they were to recommend I need an ultrasound, then I would do it. But there isn't a cause for concern at all. So I'm feeling good about that. And I have gotten a Doppler heart reading whenever I go to my midwife, which is like every month and a half or so. And she always asks, you know, it's not, none of this is mandatory. You're empowered. Like, just because the doctor makes it seem like you have to do something, or a midwife, you don't. You really don't. It's you have to consent to do all of it. So, yeah. And you can also, if you don't want to use the Doppler, they can use the handheld heart monitor, which is all they had back in the day for so many years. My intention is just really, I kind of said it already, but to bring this baby, to raise this baby, to love this baby, to carry this baby with the least amount of trauma and interference and fear as possible. You know, like, what would that feel like to bring a baby into this world with so much trust and love and safety and just nourishment and energetic kind of peace and calm? What would that be like? That's how I've been going about all of this, and knowing that it's not about me, it's actually about baby. So if I'm in fear, like, oh my god, you know, I haven't felt a kick in the last hour or whatever, you know, knowing that that's a conscious kind of choice that I'm making to be in that fear, instead of doing the work to be in peace and calm and trust and empower myself, so that baby feels and trusts and knows that it's all good. It's all good. Mama's got this. We're all safe here. Jane, I think her name is, asked, curious about what vitamins or supplements or ways you're caring for yourself and baby. Such a great question. Oh man, this is such a juicy one. I could do a video all about this, probably will, because I think health and how to care for oneself during pregnancy is severely talked about, underrepresented. I've seen so many times these like memes and jokes and like this baby is fed on Taco Bell and Starbucks, and it's like, and people are laughing and joking, and it's not funny. Like, that's not funny. That's not good. It's not healthy. And I understand that that's the circumstances and all of the education, and people are making the choices that they're making because of what they know, but it's just not something to be like encouraged as good in popular culture, because it's not healthy for baby at all. Baby needs so many nutrients and minerals and so much good stuff to grow, and the baby's just gonna leach it from you. So if you're not nourishing yourself properly, you're gonna feel like shit, because baby just takes everything that they need, and then you're just like a bag of flesh without all your life force. So yeah, passionate about that. But anyway, something that's helped the most is minerals, being really, really, really cognizant of my mineral intake and upping that a lot. I find that I feel completely different if I'm forgetting to like boost my minerals or not. So for instance, in my water right now, I have lemon juice and trace mineral drops, which you can get at any health food store. You can order them online, and it's just a really easy way to get your minerals. Just add them in your water and drink them down. Another great way is putting Shilajit in your tea or your coffee if you're drinking coffee. It's just a black like resin that has a ton of naturally occurring minerals in it, and you can just put a little bit in. I drink that regularly, find it really helpful. You can add mineralized salt into your drinks. I do that sometimes. I'll have orange juice and mineralized salt, which is really good for your adrenal system as well. And following people on Instagram that talk about this kind of thing. One of my friends, Noelle Covery, I don't even know how to say her last name, Noelle Covery, I believe is how you say it, or Kavari, on Instagram. She's great. She posts a lot of really great tips for pregnant and breastfeeding mamas. Highly recommend checking her out. I learn a lot from her posts. Just being super cognizant of how much you're eating, especially as I'm in third trimester. I need to eat frequently. I need to eat a lot, but my stomach is smaller, so you just need to eat more frequently, and prioritizing proteins and fats is the most important. And so I'll have a lot of cheese throughout the day. I'll have eggs every day. I'll have bacon or sausages. I'll have burgers, and just making sure that I am getting that fat, all the healthy fat, and like putting on so much butter, drinking raw milk, just like all the fat, all the protein, give it to me, and it feels so good and it helps. And like, I'm not, there's such a false perception of fats and what that does for your health in the country. But if you're eating healthy fats and from good sources, avoiding PUFAs, polyunsaturated fats, avoiding seed oils, and just turning to the naturally occurring fats, it's really, really helpful. I've been taking the Seeking Health Optimal Prenatal, which was recommended by a bunch of health conscious mamas that I resonate with, and I find it really good. It has a lot of great stuff in it. I pretty much never take they tell you to take 8 capsules a day, but you have to take them within like certain hours and take them with food. Pretty much never I'm getting in all 8. I usually get 6, sometimes only 3. But I don't really feel worried about it because I know that I am focusing on my nutrition and supplementing elsewhere. So just tune into how you feel and what you need. And a lot of women don't take prenatals at all, and they just focus on their food, which is like, hello, nature's prenatals. We didn't have prenatals back in the day. Women would often just eat intuitively. Do you have any books, podcasts, videos about doulas or midwives that you recommend? Yes, definitely. I mentioned a few. Business of Birth is a great one to kind of start with if you're curious about the birth industry. Orgasmic Birth is a fun documentary. It's very it's old and it's just kind of fun, and you can see different options of birth and different examples. Honestly, my favorite videos have been birth vlogs on YouTube. I'll link my most favorite birth vlog of all time, and I've watched like 600 plus probably birth vlogs in my day. I will link my most favorite one. It is the most stunning, beautiful birth vlog I've ever seen, and their dynamic, the couple's dynamic really reminds me of Sage and I like, I love her attitude, and it's just so beautiful. So yeah, I'll link that one below. Lindsay Mihalis, I don't know how to say her last name, on Instagram. I'll link her down below as well. She's a great midwife, very well known, and quite an advocate for like free birth, but with a midwife. So I really like everything she shares. I follow quite a few people on Instagram that I'll link down below. I find their posts really helpful. Ina May Gaskin's books, I Am a Guide to Childbirth, that's a classic, great book. Birthing from Within, that's another great book. Orgasmic Birth is a great book. I shared some more books in my first trimester recap, so yeah, definitely go check that out if you want to learn more. But birth vlogs, those are my favorite. Looking up, you know, the scenario that you want. So if you want a hospital natural birth vlog, then look that up. Or if you want a home birth vlog or anything like that, and just watching a bunch. I find that also the midwife, like the Diaries of a Midwife by Peggy Vincent, I believe it's called. She has a bunch of books just sharing all these birth stories, and I found that so helpful. So unfortunately the video cut off, but I'm not sure where or when it cut off. So maybe it was the universe saving me from having too long of a video. But I'm gonna end it out here, and I'm so grateful for all of you who ask questions. They're really beautiful questions, and I'm happy to do more of these videos. As you can tell, I'm quite passionate about it. And of course, like, please leave anything that doesn't resonate with you, and take what does. And this is just something that I think I enjoy hearing people's honest opinions about birth and about pregnancy. And if we are, you know, going back in the day, we would all be sitting around the table or the campfire or whatever it was, sharing our stories and sharing our opinions and beliefs. And I think that now online, you know, that's the forum now online to have this community. So yeah, thank you for listening and for hearing my piece on it, my 2 cents. And of course, all of this is just where I'm at now. Things may shift, things may change, and I'm here for the journey. So yes, I am happy to be back doing videos again. Had a little break because we had our baby blessing, which I'm going to do a video about. And it was, yeah, so stunning, and I needed to recover. We had our baby blessing and then my mom's 1-year anniversary of her passing, which was a big day. And yeah, so just getting back in the groove, and can't wait to do a barn update. It's coming along, all the windows are in, so exciting. We're just wishing you all such a beautiful day, sending you so much love and big hugs, and to all the mamas and mamas to be out there, just I see you, I honor you, thank you, and I will see you soon. Bye.